Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to the first Owl Watch. This is set by my friend Don and myself. I just broke rule we said by not saying This is a podcast between my friend Don and myself. My name is Ken, where we talk about the Overwatch League, the game itself, and everything like that. I keep saying So, a lot of this is going to be us talking about the new teams that are coming out, a lot of the different venues that have been talked about and theorized about, and how we're going to move on with that. Stuff with the conference, the rosters, everything like that. So I hope you'll stick around with us. I know it is a little bare bones to start with.
It's going to take us a little while to get fully into the swing of things.
Absolutely. So I hope you'll stick around with us as we talk about everything, hopefully grow together, hopefully get some artwork, be real stream boys, and go from there. So without further ado, this is Owl Watch Episode 1. Don, take us away.
Alrighty, Ken. Well, I think the first thing we should talk about would be the 6 new teams for next season. I know the season hasn't fully ended yet, but I think it's a good idea to start talking about who we think might join for next year.
Definitely. I think some things as far as teams and stuff, I think the US has enough teams. I think we're kind of done there already, unless we're going to get like real Midwest teams like Ohio.
Well, I think Chicago is a big market for that, which I have a feeling Chicago will be one of the 6 teams. But I agree. I think the US is pretty much tapped out, at least for now, until they expand further.
Definitely.
I'd like to see them expand the markets in like Europe, Middle East, or Asia, or even go to like Australia or something along those lines.
Absolutely. I think that would be great. I think Canada definitely needs its mark, and I also think Mexico needs its mark as well. I'm a big fan of like how would I put it? I'm a big fan of the like, hey, look at me. I have a big conference kind of thing. It's like me growing up in New York, big fan of like the Yankees Mets. So I think it'd be very cool to see like Canada, the US, and Mexico really, really fight and be like, nah, we're the best America team, like North America, the continent, kind of things like that. Yeah. Same thing where I hope Japan gets a team and Korea get a team along with Shanghai being a team, be like, we're the best Asia team, something like that. I think that'd be really fun to see.
Well, you might need to have the Europe, Asia, or kind of just be an America versus the world, or the Americas versus the world type of situation going on there.
Yes.
So you'd have Canada, United States, Mexico, any of Central America that might also have a team. If South America, say Brazil, would get a team or something along those lines, then those teams, say there's 12 of them, would play the 12 world teams, being Europe, Asia, Oceania, that sort of thing.
So similar to like a World Cup kind of thing, because I believe me and you were talking about at another point how for the World Cup right now, the current bid is for the Americas being some places in Canada, the US, and Mexico, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So something similar to that, where it's like we have the Americas League, the European League, the Asia, Australian League, kind of something like that.
Well, not necessarily like that. It's more of thinking of baseball or hockey or football in North America that has like basically an eastern-western side of the country. So it's not like you're all trying to qualify for the Overwatch League. You're already in the Overwatch League. That's the NFL, so to speak. And then as you progress throughout the season, the teams in the Americas are fighting for the American side of the playoff bracket, where the teams in the world, the rest of the world, are fighting for the playoffs in the rest of the world. And then when those playoffs end, the 2 teams left will play for the overall number 1 spot.
Gotcha. That definitely makes sense. I could definitely see that. Right now out of what we've known so far, because I believe they did confirm Canada.
I believe they did as well.
Where would you like to see? Like, would you want it to be, lots of Canada stuff, kind of mimic the U.S., or would you rather more European stuff to kind of counteract it? Because we only have, as far as Europe goes, we only have London, and then we have Shanghai and Seoul for the Asia teams, correct?
I believe that is correct. But I think, unfortunately, we are kind of tapped out on American teams. We might be able to get like America's teams.
Gotcha.
We might only be able to get, say, out of the 6 teams coming, maybe 2. So we might see like a Toronto or a Montreal or a Chicago. I mean, I think those 3 markets would be very good. The other 3 to 4, I think, are definitely going to be spread around between Europe and maybe like Berlin or Paris, something along those lines, or move them down to, say, Sydney, Australia, or Japan, like you said before.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see a Japan team. I think that would be very, very neat to see, like, something, the Tokyo team, something like that. That'd be very, very cool to see. And then, as you were saying too, I think France would be the best one to see out of it. Like France, Germany, I would absolutely love to see those 2 coming out of it.
Yeah, I think those are between somewhere in Germany and somewhere in France. I think those are kind of the 2 biggest markets for Europe. Maybe Amsterdam. That's kind of a stretch, I think. Yeah. Just being Berlin and Paris, just for example, those are 2 major markets already. And I believe I know Paris has a major soccer team, and Germany has a bunch. So they already have kind of dedicated markets to sporting events. I don't know how receptive they are to esports, but I think, especially in France, with, I believe, Soons from France.
I believe so, yeah.
I think that already is kind of a big jump into that market.
Yeah, I could see that. I also know as well that Europe is a lot open to this stuff. Here is a lot of like football America, go tackle the man kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm surprised it's taken off as well as it has in the Americas, which is great to see.
Yes. That also, because with that, like, with as well as it's taken off, oddly enough, as well as the Golden Knights have done this year in the NHL, I would love to see, with as well as they're doing, them to bring a Vegas team. Like, I know I said I wanted America's done, but there's like either a Midwest, like Ohio, Nebraska kind of team out of nowhere, just like dead center of the country, or like I said, a Golden Knights of Overwatch kind of thing. Think that'd be phenomenal to see, especially with as showy and flashy as the Golden Knights are in the NHL.
They did go all out.
Like, oh my god, that'd be great. Because I know the Kings supported, I don't know about the Gladiators, but the Valiant, the Kings supported them, and that was rad. As a Kings fan myself,
and I can understand why you're a Valiant fan, I guess.
That was just well, Kings are rad, Valiant's gonna be rad. They are rad because here we are in the playoffs. So here we go.
Well, still got a long way to go until you actually win it. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. But I think your whole Vegas idea is actually a pretty good one. I mean, if we look forward, how we're going to be probably towards season 3, where they're thinking about doing different venues. Yeah. Vegas would be a big market for that. I mean, they've already got all of these casinos, and I mean, Vegas, I believe they just built a new arena for Vegas, Golden Knights, that is. So they've already got a lot of infrastructure to handle an Overwatch League event.
Yeah. They've also shown they know how to welcome a new team and almost assimilate them into whatever league it is.
Yeah, Vegas Golden Knights were pretty much immediately a fan favorite in Vegas and around that area, as well as a lot of other fans of the NHL. I know you were rooting for them to do well, me not so much, but there are a lot of lifelong fans who really wanted Vegas to do well. So I think that could help propel Vegas to get a bid.
Yes, that, and as oddly enough as the ones they were fighting, I think either if we're gonna see U.S. Vegas, the Midwest, like dead Midwest, or DC. That's all I want to see. I don't want to see like a Georgia team. I don't want to see, a Detroit team. I know you're a Red Wings fan, but I don't want to see that. I want to see like very specific spots.
Well, would you be okay with Chicago, or would that be too major for that as well? 'Cause I'm trying to think of other, like, being from the Midwest. I'm trying to think of other areas that would be able to support. Maybe Cleveland, but
I would say Chicago, I'd be fine with. I wouldn't complain about. But if they did because like how New York we have the Yankees and the Mets. It's like I would love to see. I would hate to see another New York team. I don't want to see whatever the opposite to the Excelsior is.
wait, what even is the? I mean, they're just a New York XL, so maybe it would be New York PowerPoint.
It's something, but you know what I mean. How we have the Mets and the Yankees. I don't want to see that. I
Yeah.
don't want.
No, I agree.
As a Valiant fan, like we have the Glads as our biggest rivals. Battle of LA is one of the bigger things in the league. I don't want to see that in 2-3 different states. That's just too much for me.
Well,
Chicago, I'd be fine with if
okay.
they guaranteed it would be Chicago and a Canada team, not directly north.
Well, I think a Canada team will definitely be. I mean, you have Vancouver on the west side, but I don't think they should go for that. Toronto, I believe, is a little bit more east than that. Still on the west side. My knowledge of Canada is a little bit lacking anymore, but you could go with Ottawa, which is, I believe, around Michigan, just northeast of there.
Yeah.
Or you could go with Montreal.
Yeah.
There are a lot of big markets in Canada that could, I think, eventually, in say 5 years, if the Overwatch League is still going strong, they could expand to say a 30-team league, and you could see 4 or 5 Canadian teams in the league.
Which I would love. Like if they said tomorrow that we're updating it to, each part of Canada, Quebec, Ontario, all that kind of stuff has like they all have a team, and like we have multiple teams across the states in Europe, and they're all fighting. Sure, but as of right now, I would take Winnipeg, I would take Quebec City and Montreal. I don't think I would take Toronto, being it's next to New York, like it's at the border.
Yeah.
But that's just that's just me. That's one thing. I'm more excited to hopefully get more out of U.S. teams. I think
try to expand the markets a little bit more instead of just being so concentrated on the West Coast, so concentrated on the East Coast. Try to mix it up a little bit more and do the same kind of thing in Canada. Maybe have one West, one East, one
Central,
or two in the central areas.
Yeah. The only place I'd really be okay with having multiple would be like England. Like we have Spitfire for London Spitfire, do something else, do Wales, do something like that. I'd love absolutely
Irish
love,
team.
It'll never happen. Oh my god. What are they doing?
That'd
make
be great.
my AOH friends proud, but like
I
love
Dublin
that.
Guinnesses. I'm down.
All for it. But that is definitely a ways out. I don't think we'll see that for a while.
No.
That's just speculation. We never know. We might get a notification tomorrow of like, hey, by the way, Dublin's in it now. It's like, that's my new team. Sorry, Soon. I love you.
That'd be great. I mean,
but
I'm definitely down to see more European teams. I mean, they also need to expand that. I mean, even if we look at France and Germany, they're still concentrated on one side.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Absolutely.
They're all right around basically the English Channel. I mean, they're all kind of within a couple of hours of each other. So I would love to see, say, move down to like Barcelona.
Okay.
Go over in that direction. Maybe go down to Greece, get like an Athens team, or go to Italy. Do something on like Rome.
Would be great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of other areas that could be tapped that it would be great to see. But moving outside of Europe, there are also a lot of options in Asia.
that, speaking of Asia, just because it sits in that weird, like, I'm part of everything. I'd love to see a Russia team too.
I was about to say that, yep.
I'd
Especially with
love
Volskaya Industries and having Zarya be a Russian
Well, you have
character.
all the places, or what's its name in Greece. You have the maps there. I'd love to see
Yep.
an Egyptian team for Anna and Farah. That'd be great. You know,
Oh,
that
that'd be great to have an Egyptian. I wouldn't even think about an African team.
oh, the South
Like
Africa,
Cairo, have a Cairo team, or yeah, South Africa.
that
I,
Madagascar somehow.
that'd be
Madagascar team.
great. I'd be all for that. I mean,
And for
moving.
Symmetra as well, I'd love to see like an India team. I feel like that would be very cool.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be
Because then we
sweet.
could have a true Malaysian kind of team. That also the Middle East as well. I know it's a little bit farther towards Egypt and stuff. I'd love that. I'd love to see Israel have a team. Hopefully
Yeah.
things can cool down everywhere for everybody. Not getting into all that, but
Yeah.
that to see like Iraq, Iran, a Palestinian team. I'd love, 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 love to see all these different countries have their stake in this.
Well, I'm with you. I want to see as many teams as possible. But unfortunately, we're kind of moving towards like an Overwatch World Cup type of thing, which I think they already have in some aspects with
Yeah.
a lot fewer teams.
Yeah.
But I agree. I would love to see that. Unfortunately, with Overwatch League, I think we know the max is going to be 18 teams for next year, but is what we've heard so far.
Mhm.
But I think max
So,
overall would probably be close to like 30 teams.
so for this season coming up, right? Like they confirmed we're going to 18, correct?
Yeah, it seems everything I've read says there are 6 new teams.
So, what are the 6 teams that you yourself would like? Like we know Canada's confirmed, so like obviously ignoring names, like where would you like to see, like as your like hopefuls?
Um, I think Paris and Berlin need to
Okay.
happen. 2 major markets in Europe get 2 more European teams. I believe Chicago will be added as another American team, but to kind of split the sides there and have another a Midwestern team and another middle of the country team,
Yeah.
with Texas being the others.
Mhm.
I think they might go crazy and add 2 Canadian teams right off the bat, do like Vancouver, Toronto,
Okay.
kind of both sides of Canada there for the most part. And
Okay.
then
What's your wild card then for Team 6? Like
Sydney,
Sydney?
go all the way out to Australia.
Okay. I do agree on the France, like the Paris Berlin. I think that's definitely coming. I think that's at least
Right.
in the works. Maybe
I-
not this season, but it's definitely coming.
I guess we can just say France and Germany. We don't have to be as specific on those cities, but yeah.
Yeah, France and Germany. I think England will get another team. Definitely think that's
This next year or in the future?
no. I think they are going to get 2 because
No, I mean like the season 2. You're
yes,
getting another team. Okay. Okay.
that's what I definitely think that. And if they don't get that this season for season 2, I think season 3 we will see Dublin come in. But
Wow.
for season 2, I'll do France, Germany, England is a second. I see 1 Canada team. I see Sydney, and unfortunately, I see another either U.S. or fortunately a Japan team coming in. That's what I see.
I could see Japan coming in 3. I think it's gonna be a lot easier to create a Chicago, like another U.S. team. Um, let's put a beer on who gets it closest.
All right, fine.
Next time we see each other.
So, all right, well, let me hold on. Let me write this down. What are your 6 again? So France,
France, Germany,
Germany.
Chicago.
okay.
2 in Canada, probably Toronto and Vancouver.
I'll just give you 2 Canada. I won't even go that. I'll give
All
you
right,
just 2
all right,
Canada.
all right. That's fair. And then Sydney as my kind of my wild card.
All right. I agree with the France Germany. I think
You said England gets a second.
England. I can't spell it all.
1 Canada.
1 Canada.
I believe you said Sydney. I'm not 100% on that one, but I believe you did.
Yes, and then my wild card is either Japan or Dublin.
Okay. All right.
So we one whole beer on who's right.
We need a slap bet. All right,
Uh,
we can add that on top. Just, I mean, if I win, Ken might not be back. If Ken wins, I mean, I'll be fine.
we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's one of those things. Depends on how right we are. If I get all of them right, I'm slapping you and you owe me a beer.
That's
if
fine.
I only get 5 out of the 6, I want a beer. I'm not going to slap you for 5 out of 6. Same to you.
I'll let you slap me for 3. All right.
Fine.
We'll have to make sure to record it.
So, on the topic of that, the other big thing that's involved with it is the mix of venues as well. So,
yeah, that's going to be huge going forward. They've already started that with adding in New York for
the playoffs.
league playoffs.
Yeah. So, I definitely think that New York will be a mainstay. I think it's going to be the split of where people are kind of moving around kind of thing.
Okay.
I don't know. As far as esports, this is the one that I follow mostly. This is the one that I'm like, it's this, it's that.
Same here.
So I don't know if they're going to, if other esports move like that, if they're like, well, you're playing here today, there tomorrow, there, blah, blah, blah. I could see them kind of splitting it per week.
Well,
So 6 teams play in LA, 6 teams play in New York for a week, then a flop. You know what I mean? Solely because of the us being on the East Coast can really never see them play. You know, we missed out on the playoffs, so it's like, well, we're shit out of luck.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see them kind of split like that, solely so we can be like, oh, cool, they're playing in New York. That's confirmed. You know, for at least the playoffs. See, that's confirmed. Go, cool. We can go see whomever play in New York versus, well, let's save up for season 4 so we can get tickets to that to go out there, fly to LA, get a hotel room, all that.
Well, so I agree. I think they need to mix the stages up.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily agree with how you think of doing it.
Okay.
You're saying try to move, say, week to week, or have 6 teams play here, 6 teams play there.
Something like that, yeah.
I think-
Like a rotating schedule is really what I mean.
Well, I think all right, if you're going to have a rotating schedule, the best way to do that would be based on stage.
Okay.
So you won't have as much travel. It's just you're
Okay.
traveling to one area, and that's that for the whole stage, which only
Okay.
lasts, I believe, 4 weeks or something along those lines. 4, maybe 5 weeks.
Okay.
So every stage, say you start stage 1 at LA, stage 2, say New York, stage 3, maybe go up to Canada if there's a Canadian team, stage 4, go out to Europe or something like that. Just so if you did end up bringing in European and Canadian teams and venues, then you wouldn't have to worry about, well, I got 1 week in London, then I come back and now I'm in LA, and it just helps alleviate all of that travel and
Okay.
kind
So
of a pain.
with that, you know, let's just say you're correct in the Sydney, right? And we already have 2 teams that are out in the Asias with
Yes.
Seoul and Shanghai. Would you say then, to go with what you're saying, add more stages to the season? So instead of 4, so just for argument's sake, we have the US, we have 2 spots there, stage 1 and 2. So West Coast, East Coast.
Yep.
Then Canada. Let's just,
Yep.
argument's sake, let's say it's Central Canada.
Yeah.
Like right in the
one.
middle.
Yep.
Yeah, move that way.
Yeah.
So Pacific, Central Canada, East Coast. Go to Europe, whether it be London. Hopefully they get the France, Germany teams, maybe even there, just as like a middle ground. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then the Asias. Would you be okay with adding
Absolutely.
an extra stage?
Absolutely. I'm always down to watch more Overwatch. I mean, I got into the season this first year a little bit late, so it took me a little while to get into it. But now that I'm fully invested, I want to watch more.
Absolutely.
So I'm extremely excited to watch the playoffs tomorrow.
Mhm.
So I think if they extend it to 5, I mean, then you have 50 games for the entire season,
Mhm.
which doesn't make it any more difficult. It's not like it's an odd number or anything like that.
Yeah.
it will only extend the season maybe by a month.
Mhm.
I don't think we've received a confirmed date as to when they're starting season 2.
Yeah,
So we don't know how they're planning on doing the off season yet. But extending by a month really isn't that big of a deal in my mind. Um,
that'll come down to
this comes down to
rent
players,
and
and
well, that comes just down to money. That's all that one's going to come down to. Because I'm sure the players, by going, hey, you have another month where you don't have to work at McDonald's, you can work, you know,
yep.
well, your job is to play Overwatch.
Yeah.
They'll sign up. But you are correct. It is 40 games. So
Yeah, I think
I feel like if they do that, they should jump to 60, kind of expand it a little bit more because of the travel. And the reason I say that is more dates as far as, all right, look, for whatever month I work Monday to Friday, but my vacation comes in so I can go in the last one, or I can go in the first week of the next month because of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't want to see players get burnt out before the playoffs. I mean, the reason, say, Siegel, for an example, quit, I think it was like with Envious or somebody like that, he quit professional esports is because it was too stressful and just he wanted to do other things and couldn't stream as much. I don't want to see it go too far that players will start to drop out because it's just too much to handle at this time.
Yeah.
So
no,
maybe
I get that.
Maybe season 2, season 3, season 4, you move around a little bit, see how it goes. Kind of stay as easy as possible.
I think with that comes down to when you look at the teams, right? Like, because before we started streaming, Don and I were talking about the different players, and their bench players we never see. And I don't mean like certain like swaps. Like Valiant has a whole side of bench players that have no playtime or 5 minutes. Like, I think they really need to start working on to alleviate what you're saying. Look, Soon, Space, and Bunny, they're not playing for 2 weeks. They need to rest, or even a week, whatever it may be. Yeah. They're not playing because they need to rest. They need to just sit on their phone, sit on Instagram, and go, that's funny. That's great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, take a week or so off.
They need that, and I think they need to work on that more, because with that, I think the 50, 60 games is more viable. But the constant, because every time I watch, at least Valiant, that's, the main one I watch on top of like Fuel and stuff, it's the same lineup. You know what I mean? Through the whole game, whatever it is.
They do their normal swaps, like time who bounces in and out for Fuel, that sort of thing. Well, exactly. So going with your 6 stages of 10 games, and you want some sort of break for players, would you be, I know they do this in motorsport, especially Formula 1, where they do kind of a summer break, where they take, say, a month off. So you do 3 stages for 3 months, take a month off, and then finish up the 3 stages. Would you be a fan of something along those lines? So everybody gets a break?
We've kind of felt that in terms of the playoffs itself this year, where we had this especially in stages 3 and 4, I feel, very competitive, hardcore, who's going to win, especially with the Battle of LA thing, like the theatrics, this and that. We felt that break. Like, great, regular season's over. We are going into playoffs, and there's been nothing. So I'm fine with that. So if they want to extend it even more, but kind of put in place rules as far as, like, I can't trade Fuel for Seagull in this, right? So, like, the teams that are in the playoffs cannot make trades, right? Just so there is I'm going to steal your best player in this because I'm going to offer you $1 million. You know what I mean?
Well, I was thinking more along the lines of not a break before the playoffs, a break mid-season.
Okay.
So right now we've had 4 stages, right? So you play your first 2 stages, you take a month break, no Overwatch being played, then you play the final 2 stages, and then have presumably a month break until the playoffs.
Yeah, I'd totally be fine with that.
Okay.
I think that would work absolutely fine. I don't see an issue with that because it comes down to how the players are going to feel it. The players don't feel well, and they're not playing well because of it, because they're being stressed so much.
Yeah.
Us, the viewers, are going to sit there and go, well, a
I want to
season
see
and a
them
half,
at the best.
2 seasons ago, Siegel was getting headshots without even looking at his computer. We're watching him turn around like this and just going, all right, one trick, got it, done, got it. And then all of a sudden he's sitting in front of someone and can't get a headshot. Like, I'd rather the break to see them do.
I think all players would be a fan of that because we have so many players from other parts of the country, and everything's been so focused in the United States that if you get a month break, you can go back home. You can go see your family. You can go be with the friends you've known for years. Or just go explore.
With the stage ships, like you're saying, the Explorer, going from West Coast to Central, you have a time change. Central to East Coast, you have a time change.
Mm-hmm.
Here to, Europe, specifically like England, you have a huge time change.
Yes, you do.
You can't just go from okay, well, right now for me it's 10:40 at night. You can't go from that to, well, it's 5 a.m. now. I have a game in an hour. Hello, good morning, I guess.
Yeah.
You
have to need some adjusting time.
Yeah.
So I think that's something Blizzard and everybody will talk about in the coming years after seeing the success of this first season. It's definitely something on the pipeline.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see how that one goes.
So I would say along the lines of what we were saying before, in terms of venues, obviously with no slap bet on this one because this is super just random.
Oh, this is out there.
Where would you aside from Canada, because I feel like with them coming into it this season, being the only confirmed one, we're getting where? In Canada, at least.
Yeah.
Where would you like to see? I know for myself, I'd like to see New York become a mainstay. I would very much like to see that be a regular thing. However they split it, even if they keep it the 4 right now. Stage 1 to 4. Do 2 in LA, 2 here, and the playoffs in LA. I don't really care. Even if they switch, right? Elongate it. 2 weeks there, take a week off, come here, take a week off. The finals are in LA. I don't care. Something like that.
Being on the East Coast now, I definitely would want to be greedy and say New York. Because it's only a couple hours away and gives us a better chance to go up and see our favorite teams. Just go see professional esports. See people who are actually good at Overwatch play. But that being said, I'd like to see Europe.
Okay.
Even probably more so than New York.
So would you trade a Europe kind of spot for New York? So if it came down to it and they're like, look, we're either going to do New York or Europe, you would say Europe over New York.
Yeah, because I think you're going to expand the market more. As you and I can fly out to LA and see a game or whatever. But it's tough being a European fan to try to come over here and watch. Say you're a huge Soon fan. How are you going to watch it? Or think of the time difference for them trying to watch the games.
True. That's right in their work hours when it's on.
I think it's when they start work. So they're screwed. So I think just for the overall of the league, Europe would be the best choice.
I could. That makes sense. I do see that. Well, right now it's 3:00 in the morning, almost 4 for them. So.
Yeah. So the last game of the night would just be starting. Soon. Would be starting soon.
Yeah. So they're missing all that. I could see that. That and just the whole having to get a passport to fly to LA for 3 days to fly back. You're not gonna I know myself. If they had a thing in Dublin, let's just say, I'm not going to fly out for just the weekend.
That's a week-long thing, yeah.
And I would assume it's the same for them to come to LA or New York, something like that. Big cities, not fucking wherever we are.
Yeah. No,
so
I agree.
Sense. So I'm kind of jumping here to go off a point you made with how the league is going to react. But as far as player contracts go, I know that's been up in the air on how people are going to be paid, how they're going to move around. As far as that, how do you think the league is going to handle, let's just say, either the 5 stages, 6 stages they move to, and it is moved to Europe, all that. Like you said, the week off would make sense. How do you think they're going to handle that in terms of pay? Because unfortunately, it is a week off. I could see making their social media presence big there, or having like a team stream for whatever it is. Like,
hang on, you're kind of backwards in the way you're thinking about this, because most people get paid hourly, right? Like
True.
You, myself, most people get paid just by the hour, whatever you work, it's what you get paid. Most professional sports players or professional athletes in general are paid on a salary. So it's they're paid
do you think that would
minimum
impact the contract itself, the what they're getting paid? Because they know going into it, let's just say 4 stages for easy math, they have a month off with all that work. You know, a week of going between each one. That's a month of doing nothing. You know what I mean? Because they can say during the week of when they have games for each stage, well, they're practicing. They're here, they're doing this, we see them doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But saying they have a week off, they're not doing anything. They're sitting around eating whatever fast food is available wherever, probably McDonald's or, whatever.
Definitely McDonald's, but...
You know what I mean? Something like that, where they're not really doing much. So how do you think they're going to handle something like that, though?
I don't think it's going to matter that much, because most of the players are streamers. So they'll probably go back to doing their generic streams, or you have all the players who came to the United States to join this league will probably explore a little bit or do things along that nature, but it's not going to impact play necessarily. There might be stipulations in contracts where you can't do anything dangerous that might you might hurt yourself and can't perform anymore. Mm-hmm. Eat fast food or whatever, that's not that big of a deal.
I was just using that as an example of, like, I'm off, I'm here, I don't feel like doing anything.
I don't think they can control, especially because it's not so much like you're playing basketball. You need to be in peak physical shape to play basketball. Playing esports, you really just need to have good eyesight or thick enough glasses where you can see everything.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, it doesn't...
I wear contacts, I get it. But you just need to be able to see the screen well, react fast enough, and your hands and arms have to be able to move quick enough. You don't need to be in peak physical form for your entire body. So I don't think they can limit pretty much anything they do, as long as it's not going to possibly physically harm any of the facilities they need to play great Overwatch.
That, and I could see embarrass the league, the team. Same thing like with anything like that.
Yeah, you can't go get into a bar fight somewhere
and lose.
Even if you win, it's not looking good. Behind the scenes, hey, good job, buddy. But to the media, that's not a good sign.
You bringing up bar fight actually brought up a good point too. Here in the States, drinking age is 21. Europe is just, I'm not even going to try and guess, because every time I talk about it, it's something different. Even when I talk about Canada, my sister just went recently.
I think it's a minimum of 18 in Europe.
I heard that growing up in a very Irish home. I heard in Dublin, it was a very different thing.
Yeah, as long as you're tall enough to see over the bar.
Yeah, at that point, you can start drinking whiskey instead of the regular beer. But my point is, what do you think they'll do with drinking and as far as contracts with that? Because here in the States, there's people that are 18 that are playing, but they can't legally drink. Versus where if they were an American citizen to go over to England, where I think it's 18.
I believe so, yes.
They could legally drink, even though they're United States citizen. Do you think they'll put a stipulation as in, look, you were born here in this country, your drinking age is this, you must follow this? Because unfortunately at 18, they're still, yes, they're an adult, they're still going to have to worry about, like...
I don't think you can legally... I'm not a lawyer, but I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I wish. Make a lot of money. But I don't know if you can legally say you can't do this because you were born here. I've never been to Europe, but I'm old enough to drink now, so it doesn't matter. But I don't think you can say you can actually not do this, or yes, you can do this. As long as it doesn't go too far, I think you'll be fine. But I don't know. that's going to be something that Blizzard would have to
I more was
figure
saying
out.
on your your point of the like don't get in a bar fight. Yes, bar fight's one thing, but the making the league look bad, looking this, something like that, as in like, look, we don't want it to make it look like join the Overwatch League and then in stages 3 through 6 you can get plastered. And one of the guys in chat right now is saying that they played soccer in Belgium with some people that were 16 and they were allowed to, but as they were 16, they could not do that, being, an American kind of thing. So, again, I feel like that's almost like a chaperone thing, because I know at my high school, in the German classes, at least when they went over there, they were told they weren't allowed to drink or do anything. Whether they were caught was a different story, but in all of the stuff, because the contracts and stuff were signed in America where the drinking age is 21, they were like, no, you can't do that.
Well, that's because of a school thing.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't just because you were underage in the States.
Mm-hmm.
That was the school covering their butts. But I think it just becomes, it always goes back to the just don't do anything stupid that would actually impact the league in a negative way.
The same person in the chat was stating that they could if they wanted to, but it was the chaperones themselves that were not letting them. So,
I mean, that could be how they have to do things.
yeah, like you said, it could be just a liability thing. Last thing you need is somebody going over there saying, I got plastered in Germany, coming home and their parent going, great, I'm suing the entirety of the school district.
Or they go over there and get alcohol poisoning, God forbid, or have something like those things happen.
Yeah.
So it may just be, you can go over as an Overwatch League member. You can go over, like I know Sinatra, I believe Sinatra's 18.
Mm-hmm.
He can go over to Europe and sure, you can drink or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't go to the point where it's going to cause some sort of negative impact on the league.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what they do in professional sports as well. I mean, it's kind of they can go out and do whatever the heck they want. It's in America, most of them are over 21 when they enter the leagues, but they can go out and do whatever they want. They just
not make the league look bad.
If you get into any legal trouble, then the league comes down on you. So in one shape or another.
Yeah. Well, on a more positive note, because that was kind of depressing.
Yeah, let's definitely move away from that.
As far as player contracts itself, another thing Don and myself were speaking of before this was the extension of contracts themselves. Because as of right now, I believe you said they were 2 years, correct?
I read somewhere, but this is probably a month ago at this point, that there was a 2-year max for now at a $50,000 per year minimum.
That was the minimum.
Correct. That is the minimum you're allowed to pay a player to play professional Overwatch.
Okay. So with that, it kind of goes off of wanting more teams and wanting the different venues and stuff. How do you think they're going to handle now extending contracts? So let's just say Season 2 for Overwatch League is just the bee's knees. It's better than the first one, which exploded anyway. Nobody thought it was going to be like this.
It was massive.
It's a monstrous thing. How do you think they're going to do that? Do you think it's going to be just a simple, okay, you had this 2-year, well, here's this new one stating this. Do you think it's just going to be an extension they do? Or do you think they're going to make people resign saying, hey, years 1 and 2 were phenomenal. We're going to do a 5-year contract now instead of 2, or something like that, or a 10-year if they're really ambitious. Well, what do you think they're going to do there?
I think the plan, as far as I can tell, is going to be to react like most normal sports. Again, talking United States sports, where there is a maximum time frame you can extend. Hockey's a little bit different, where hockey goes a little bit farther. But in general, it's like 5, 6 years is the max extension you can sign for X amount of money.
Player just got signed for like 8 years.
I know a Lightning, Nikita Kucherov at the Lightning just got signed for 8 years, 72 mil, I think. So he's doing all right. But
Yeah, there was that. Now I have to look it up. But yeah, no.
I believe you. It's just that's the last one I saw. Oh, you guys just signed Kovalchuk, but whatever.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna have a maximum amount of years you can be signed for. Minimum, obviously, being 1, maximum being say 5 or 6. There will be a maximum amount of money you can make per year, still being the minimum of $50,000. But say the maximum is now 100,000, 200,000, whatever.
I feel like that's going to be a thing similar to just regular sports, where it's like
there's a minimum you can be paid and there's a maximum you can be paid, and that's that. It might expand over the course of, say, 5 years later. It might actually be now 500,000 instead of 200,000, but there's still going to be a maximum in place.
Yes, but I think that's going to be is going to be a major issue in the upcoming years unless they tackle it now. Because think of it this way, right? You have the 2 LA teams, which are, forgetting good, bad, or indifferent, they're big teams because of their theatrics. It's the Battle of LA. It's a big thing.
Yep.
You have Excelsior, which is a monster in the league.
Yep.
They are what they are. You have Shanghai, which, yes, they had the horrible season. They went 0-40. Rest in peace.
They're the lovable losers. Like, that's everyone's rooting for them.
But then you have Florida. They've done nothing of note. There's nothing about them that's like, Florida, man, look at them go. It's just like, they're there.
I believe a lot of them have some really sweet beards that I'm pretty jealous of, but it's about all I remember.
But exactly, though, like, with LA, you remember that. With Dallas, you remember, like, Soon joining it. With the Outlaws, you remember, how they
Soon
started.
Was Valiant, but yeah.
Not Soon, I'm sorry. Seagull.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Seagull, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But that. London, the only European team, you remember them for that. It's just, So I think Overwatch League, to protect themselves in the upcoming thing for the contracts, needs to be like, hey, I get it. You guys make a ton of money. You cannot pay your people millions of dollars to play Overwatch.
Well, what they could do is create a salary cap.
Okay.
Which, again, most major sports do. I think baseball's the only one that doesn't, and European soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. But you only have, say...
Football, as Cox and Krenner would say. Football.
Depends on the country.
Football.
So you say you only have $1 million to spend on an 8-person roster, whatever the roster size is, say 10 people.
Yeah.
So you have $100,000 per position, right?
Yeah.
So you can pay one person $150,000, but then you got to pay another person $50,000. You have to balance out somehow, and you can't go over.
You can't pay everybody $150,000, and suddenly your bill is a couple million, where the other teams are like, "Oh, I have $20 to spend for a whole season."
Well,
that includes
that will also help.
Like,
all right, so you look at like Jonak, right? Whenever he becomes a free agent, if he ever becomes a free agent, he's going to command top dollar as long as he wants to play. I mean, he's a great player, one of the best, if not the best, Zens in the game. So you could see a team like Florida say, hey, we'll pay you $250,000 a year to come play for us for 5 years. So, all right, they have now a star. You're going to see more parity between the league because you're going to see all of these players move to different markets that can pay them more money if they want to follow the money. Then you'll see people like, just because I'm a fan of Seagull, I'll use him as an example, he might take a pay cut. Say he's worth $150,000, but he wants to win. So say he might go to Valiant, but only be paid $75,000.
But at the end of the year, he gets to walk away with the trophy.
Exactly. So I think
isn't that what LeBron did this year or something with basketball? I don't follow basketball.
Well,
all I know is that everybody's making fun of him, and it's just a meme of him going like that, crying on the court for some reason. I don't know.
Watching that live, that was great. But so LeBron left partially for money, partially for other reasons. He could get paid more in Cleveland, but he has probably a better shot to win a championship. Also, overall, being in LA, it's a bigger market. You can do other things and make more money. So he's kind of a weird case. But I think you can see if they create a salary cap, like most other sports, if they say you have this is the max contract you're allowed to give somebody, say 5 years for $250,000 per year. Then when contracts start to get up, and people become free agents, you're going to start to see people move around. It's not just see New York be New York. You're going to see 3/4 of New York go elsewhere because they can get more money. Or New York just can't pay those players anymore. So either they have to take a pay cut or go someplace else.
As far as extensions, then, with that, would you? I was just thinking of like the random nonsense that could happen. Do you think then the league itself would have to worry about people going, okay, fine, like again, easy numbers. The cap is 150,000.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see an issue then of people going, well, it's 150,000 for everybody because they're doing 5 years, so we're going to do 7 years, and we're going to do, I don't know, 170, 175. Just being like.
That's why you cap the years.
Mm-hmm.
So you say you can only do 5 years.
Yeah.
Or I know basketball, I believe, does this where if you're signing for the same team, you can do 5 years at 1.25 of what you could do at other teams, where you can only sign 4 years at. So, say you would be making $50,000 for a new team for 4 years. The team you're on now can sign you for 75 for 5.
Got it. Okay.
Something along those lines. It's basically like a loyalty. Like, hey, you stayed. Congratulations. Here's a little bit more money. You can stay longer.
Yeah.
They might be able to do something like that. But in terms of extensions, I think you're going to start to see those come down pretty quick. Because more often than not, players will start to be offered extensions in the final year of their contract, which most players should be in now.
Mm-hmm.
So Blizzard will have to come down and say, hey, these are the rules. You have 5-year max and $250,000 a year max. That's what it is. You have this much to play with. You have a $750,000 salary cap, whatever it is. And that's what you have to play with. Make it work.
Yeah.
And now seeing 6 more teams come in, I wonder how
they may end up making whatever that cap is bigger just because it's like, well, now we have 18 teams. We started going, because I can almost guarantee the board meeting for this whole thing would have been like, look, we'll probably make our money back, make some money. It's not going to go much longer than that. And I guarantee they sat there and went,
holy crap, we just made a shit ton of money.
Because what did we pay for our jerseys?
I think they were like 75 a pop. Plus they're also like named and things like that. But
still, like, because I have a Gretzky jersey for the Kings, and that was 150. Mm-hmm. And that's a hockey jersey, so it's a sweater, it's heavier, there's more material. But to be half the price for a T-shirt, like,
that's major sporting teams, man. That they've realized. I hope they've realized they've got a major thing on their hands here. They can make a lot of money. They can get things going. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the future? But hopefully, we see them actually lay out these rules soon so that we can start to understand them and, I don't know, maybe actually see something. Like, just get some answers.
I would love to see a going into season 2, right? Like, forgetting the playoffs now and all that. Forget all that. I would love to see when season 2, before it happens, before the preseason happens, to see the rules essentially put out for the league. Not, don't cheat, don't take drugs, you can't snort Adderall before a game. Like an actual, like, no, like, teams can only sign for this long, like you were saying, this is this is that. I'd love to see something like that released, because that'll make jobs for me and you a lot easier to speculate, like, well, we know they can only do X, Y, and Z. Because right now we're kind of sitting here like, I don't know, they may do this, they may do that.
Yeah. No, I agree. They need to figure out what they're doing soon. I know the first season isn't officially over yet, but things are going to start moving really fast.
Yeah,
and
the
I'm
break
excited to see how it goes.
Next is going to go by super quick. Because I guarantee once we're done commentating on the playoffs, like the finals, we have a game plan, but I guarantee preseason's going to hit us and we're going to be like, oh my God, we have to get ready. Where
so much has changed and nobody knows what's going on.
Yes. Well, on top of the extension, playing off of that, of the contracts and stuff. I think that'll kind of go into as well the changing of rosters as well. I know we're kind of jumping around for what we had planned, but
yeah,
this kind of goes to what we were saying with I'm going to pay you $200,000 and I'm going to pay the other guy $50,000 because I really want this guy, so I'm going to pay him that, but you're okay at 50. It also goes back to what I was saying too, where I think they can't just have, here's my A team and my bench team, and then I hired 6 more guys, they're way over there, but they're there. I think they're definitely going to need almost not 2 teams, but have 2 full teams ready to go. They can't just have, because I think of Valiant. As much as I love them, I see the same people play all the time. I see the same switches all the time, and that's it. Because we were talking earlier, and Valiant has
8 players generally.
Yeah, Valiant has players where it's I haven't seen them play whatsoever. I didn't even know they're on the team because of how little they played.
Yep.
So I think as far as that, they need to work on expanding the rosters to be not, 12, not 12, 9 players, 12 players, something like that.
I think it's currently 10, somewhere in that range.
I think they need to expand that number. I think they need to have 15 people on it, just as a round number, just something like that. And then work that into contracts, as we were saying, and be look, you're on the team, but your job is if everybody gets shot, if all my damage gets shot, and somehow I'm out of damage players, you're up. I think they need to work that into contracts, but expand it enough to work on that.
Well, I think I could see fielding basically 2 teams. So have 4 tanks, 4 healers. Well, flex need to be in there as well for putting that aside for right now. 4 tanks, 4 healers, 4 DPS, just that many people who can play all these positions. So then you can you can scrimmage each other. So you can mix up rosters to try to make it a fair fight, or you can have your main A team versus your B team type of thing, get a little bit more practice. The unfortunate thing is I don't want to see, like you were saying before with Valiant, have a couple of players that don't
play.
Yeah, I don't want to see basically 6, 7 players who don't play on a team. It's just
because granted they're getting money to sit there, but as somebody that's worked that hard to be a professional, to sit there and go, well, I can't play, that's gotta suck.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that.
It's I can sit my underwear at home and stream and probably make the same money, if not more, by streaming, every day, making that a job.
I mean, you look at, all right, so hockey, you have 4 forward lines, 3 defensive lines, and 2 goalies that all play throughout for the most part. You've got basketball has, I believe, 12 players in the roster, 5 start, but they're subbed in rapidly. Football, a little bit tougher. I think it's a 53-man roster with really 22 to 30 playing in a game. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that, but I definitely could see adding a few more people in.
Yeah. As far as with that, expanding is going to turn into more tryouts and stuff. How do you think they're going to handle that? Where it's going to be because on the leaderboards for everything, there's PC, Xbox One, PS4, where it's well, you have your top 500, you have all that. Do you think it's going to be an invitational, hey, in your top 100 for whatever system, you get an invitation to the tryouts, something like that? Or if it's going to be more top 50, something like that, or if they're just going to ignore console entirely and go straight to just, all right, your PC players are going to be top 50, 100 people can try out, How do you think they're going to work that? Or do you think it's going to be more of a show up?
Well, it's a PC league. I mean, they don't have any of the other assists. You don't have any of the other. I mean, it's a lot different on console versus PC. I've played both. I know you've played a little bit of PC. You're mainly a console guy right now. The jump is difficult.
Yeah.
So I think they just need to have an open tryout. If you're a console gamer, come on in, but you're playing on PC. That is what it is. See if your skills translate.
I feel like the skills themselves are going to translate because you at the end of the day you've learned like what heroes work against what. Because we're talking earlier about like you have a Reinhardt that's super good doing whatever he's doing. You're going to pick a Tracer, a Genji, so you can get behind him and do a lot of tick damage. Force him to drop the shield to turn around to put it up for the rest of your team to be like, oh, kabang.
Yeah.
I feel like it'll transfer, and you never know. They may take the assists off and add controller to the league.
I think that would have to be a separate league.
You think so?
Yeah, because one, with a mouse, you have infinite adjustments. I mean, you can put that thing wherever you want it. With a controller's joystick, you don't have that much control. That's why you have a small amount of aim assist to say, okay, you're within a few pixels, good enough.
Yeah. Well, we had talked about previously, way before this, how the settings for PC with these professional players, a lot of them are saying they have medium to low as their sensitivity. That's why see their wrists flick from like instead of like
you're not
slow
using,
to just like that.
Yeah, you're not using your wrist, you're using your whole arm.
Yeah.
There's so much more you can, there's more control there, more muscles. You can actually control how much effort you're putting into, say, as a Widow trying to flick headshot somebody.
Yeah. Because I know as a console guy, the higher the sensitivity, the better, because it kind of makes up for that.
Yes.
By having it, as a guy that used to play Call of Duty a lot, having it as 10, 11 in the later games, higher.
That's how you do your flick headshots, things of that nature.
That's what I'm saying. So at that point, you're going to be way up there. You really aren't going to need that aim assist if you're that controlled at that high of sensitivity versus the guys that are so low. They're going to have to move like crazy to do everything.
Yeah.
I feel like it's that. But you don't know.
Maybe we'll see how it goes. With 6 new teams coming in, there's going to be a lot of tryouts coming out. And I imagine teams like Shanghai and even Dallas, Florida, maybe San Francisco, those teams that finished on the bottom quarter of the league, bottom half of the league, they're going to be trying to find that diamond in the rough. That just all of a sudden, like, he hasn't played much Overwatch, but he's a fantastic player.
Yeah. That or even still, like he's a console guy. He's an Xbox guy, let's just say. And his call-outs are perfect. He's granted he might have been DPS on that. Put him as a healer, or not a healer, as like a tank on PC so he can sit there and call out and be like, okay, I'm here. I'm doing this, do this, do that. Because that may be worth more than a guy who's, Ferret or girl now too,
with Gegger,
as a person who, as a Ferret, hits every shot. I would rather on my team somebody that can call everything out so I know what's coming around than somebody who's silent but they get single picks. It's not Call of Duty. It's not Battlefield. I want somebody who's going to help my team win.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. We're just going to have to see how it goes when they announce some sort of tryouts. Because I imagine teams will have either individual tryouts or they will have, or Blizzard will have tryouts. And it's be kind of a draft style.
I could see them starting as a Blizzard tryout, like a very large kind of like random people on teams. You don't really get to pick, and then from there, let's say it's 200 people drops down to 100. The teams themselves looking like the draft style and going, I want this person to try out. I want that person to try out, kind of thing. Yeah. Mock teams like that. I could see that.
Well, maybe we could see how that goes, but again, we're just going to have to wait until this season ends and they announce some rules and regulations for next season. They have to do it sooner rather than later, because I imagine season 2 will be starting come winter, fall, winter.
I would say probably December is when we're going to see the
preseason startup or something along those lines.
100%. That's when I think we're really going to see it is then. So on the top of preseason, before we get there, is we have to get the playoffs. That's a segue for everybody watching.
That's a real smooth one right there.
That's a good one.
It'll only get better from here, folks.
So, you go first, sir. In the playoffs, right now we have Glads versus London first and Boston versus Philly.
So we'll start with LA London.
So the Gladiators had a super strong stage 4. Each stage they've gotten better and better. Exactly.
Yep.
London has consistency through the whole league. Through all 4 stages, they've had really nice consistency. Never being,
top of the
never
league.
Never the bride, always the bridesmaid kind of deal.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
So, who would you pick? So for the Glads versus London, who are you saying is advancing?
So, partially because I'm a huge proponent of momentum. This last stage, we had the 2 LA teams. We had New York and we had Dallas. Yay, Dallas! We did something this season.
Thank you, Seagull.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's going to be the Gladiators taking this one. I think they have been better overall throughout the season. I think they had a rough stage 1, if I recall, but once they started getting things together, they were top half of the league for all of it. So I think the Gladiators just in general have a stronger team. So I think that's not going to be a cakewalk, but I think the Gladiators are going to fairly easily win this one. What about you? What do you think?
Honestly, I think London is going to take this because I feel like with the Gladiators, like you're saying, momentum is a big thing. They did well, and I can't argue that, but they've had time off. I think that has gone out the window, and I think for me personally, as that team, they're going to sit there and go, well, we did great, so we're going to keep pushing and pushing, and I think they're going to push the wrong stuff and go, well, let's keep it going versus let's counter this team.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I don't see them...
All right.
I see London taking advantage of that. As a guy that likes LA teams are prissy little babies. And as a Kings fan, I've seen it happen. They get 1 goal scored on them, and they're done for the rest of the game. I feel like that's what's going to happen with the Gladiators. It's going to be they're going to lose 2 maps and go, done. That's it. Good game. GG. We'll see you next season. We're out. Going to Whataburger or whatever's out there. I don't know.
In-N-Out, I think. Whataburger is Texas.
Jack in the Box.
I don't even know where that is. Somebody will have to tell us. The opposite of Checkers. Nice. Yeah. So I'd agree with some of that stuff, but I'm gonna get back to that a little bit when we talk about Boston Philly. So I'm gonna have you go first on Boston Philly. So Boston, after having an amazing stage 3, they went 10-0. They didn't win the actual playoff for stage 3, but they had an amazing stage 2. They beat New York. I mean, that was when New York was pretty much untouchable.
Yeah. But I think they were the ones to take them from their untouchable spot. Which
they needed to happen, just for the league's sake, needed to happen. But unfortunately, they did not have a very good stage 4. I believe they started out like 0-4 in stage 4, and then kind of clawed it back to around a 500 record. So they had a tough time of it. But that being said, Philly hasn't really done all that much all year. They've, again, kind of like London, just have been thereabouts. They were in stage 1 playoffs, but that was months ago. So they've been kind of just fighting to keep relevance in the league. The only benefit they've had, from what it seems, they haven't had that major decline. They've kind of just been there, which, again, is good or bad. So, with that being said, what do you think? Who do you think is going to win this matchup?
I think... See, it's weird, because, like, you're right about Philly, how they've just been there. And I have to quell the Mets fan in me.
Stage 2 playoffs, that's my bad. Stage 2 playoffs.
Yeah. But I have to quell the Mets fan in me and not hate the Phillies with every fiber of my being. But honestly, I think Boston has the best chance because they were the ones that took New York down. And I think that's better than momentum. That is a real morale thing. Because New York, like before the league started, everybody thought Seoul was going to sweep. And then New York happened. Everybody's like...
But New York lost 3 matches in Stage 4. So New York is no longer the complete giant that they are anymore.
True. But you're going to remember Boston taking you down. That's my thing. For Boston, no matter what, they're going to have in the back of their mind, we did something. We made them flinch. They had to stop and think for a second versus everybody else who they just went, New York went, I'm going to roll over you. Boston got to go, no, you're not doing that today. I'm doing this now. So, I think that's what it is, and I think that's easy. The morale is easier to bring back, and it's an easier thing versus just momentum. You know what I mean?
Okay, I can see that. I disagree with you though. I think Philly's going to take this. We had the momentum discussion earlier, and you were saying how you don't like the Glads pick because they have a month to think about things and overanalyze and try to improve upon things that aren't actually going to help them versus London. Well, the argument there in my mind is they don't have to fix the bad things. Boston has to fix all of the bad things they've done in a month and get back to the place they were Stage 3, while Philly, they were fine. They just have to focus on beating Boston.
That's the thing, though, for me, is that for Philly is they're fine. That's just it. So,
all right. Well, fine's kind of a tough term to say there, but like they weren't bad. They were good for most of the league.
I'm not calling them bad at all. I think they're a good team, but they're fine. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's just going to be one of those things we'll have to see.
It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. And I'm not going to lie. I'm partially picking these teams the way I did so that we will have a Battle of LA in the playoffs.
Oh, I want that more than anything. But I would rather...
No, I agree.
I would rather the thing of London winning. You know what I mean? The substance.
But
hello. Hello.
A special guest has arrived.
So,
but yes, no, I agree. But I still believe that having... Thanks.
As much as I would love to see in the play, as much as like the finals, what I'd love to see is balls to the wall, the Battle of LA, the final one.
Well, that'll never be the finals.
But you know what I mean.
Can't be.
But the last thing of that's what I really want.
Yeah, have another battle.
So,
but
that's the real thing that I really want.
I think
you know what I mean?
There's actually going to be something to be said with this month break and Glad's riding high and Boston being in the shitter, for lack of a better word. I mean,
I don't know. Like I said, this is going to be one of those things.
Anybody can beat anybody on any given day.
Yeah,
except for maybe especially most teams in New York, but
especially and the 4 teams that we have here is going to be anyone can beat anyone. It's not like with Gladiators there. It's not like with Excelsior there, where it's like, oh, I don't know. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, they're not in it. But Fuel in the last season with their new management turned around and suddenly they became this team where it's like, wait, we're playing Fuel today. Hold on, we have to put out the A team. You can't just do that. So with this, I really feel like it's just a 50-50 toss-up because nobody has this strong, like, with Excel, it's like, well, it's Excel. With LA, it's like they went from, well, we're good to do not mess with us, we're here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, really both LA teams have put together remarkable seasons. It's just kind of a shame for the Gladiators that they didn't get the automatic berth to the second round. And Valiant just put it together a little bit earlier. And that would have been a dogfight for the ages.
And I have all the respect for them. As much as I love to see it, between the two of them, I love a good rivalry, right? Like that. And it is a true, like, no, I respect you for what you did. I respect the Gladiators as much as I can. And honestly, if LA wasn't in it, I'd be rooting for them.
Yeah.
Or I should say, Valiant wasn't in it. I'd be Glads all the way.
Yeah.
But we won't know until it happens. Once it does, the two of us will be back to go over everything and hopefully talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll find out, and we'll hopefully have some either film or moments to break down coming in the next episode and actually talk about what's going on in these playoffs. That's a hope, but if we can get that to work, I think we'll have some good insight as to how things are going to go moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you, everybody. I'm sure at some point we'll put any form of socials out for you guys to follow us on, and when the games happen, I'm sure you'll see us talking about it in some form of a Twitch chat or something. Or
absolutely.
You always find us on the personal channels that you saw us talking in here. We'll let you guess which one's which. Anything you'd like to close with, Don?
No, I would just like to say thank you for anyone and everyone who will be watching this. We have a lot of things to improve on going forward. We know that. We'll gladly listen to any feedback you have for us. So leave that in a comment or however you can get a hold of us. That'd be much appreciated. But stick with this. I think we have the right formula to go somewhere going forward, and we'd love for you to join us from the beginning and see what happens. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and Ken, what do you think?
Cilantro. That's what I say. Cilantro.
He stole my line. All right, we'll see everybody next time. Take care and enjoy the Overwatch League.